Good morning. We're back for an early morning. It's the way of the world lately, huh? Oh. All right. We need to get this caffeine going. What's up, I Love Lamp? How are you? Good to see you. Stefan. Damn, Stefan, you're on it today. Tell you what. Gun, hello Gun. Dang, we got the whole crew here. Let's go. I'm doing well as well. AI for all. Hello, hello. How are you doing? I don't think I've seen you here before, but good to have you. Of course, Clippy community are the only ones who donate and join. Well, we appreciate the Clippy community. We appreciate it. Dude, I need my caffeine this morning. Let's go. There's no nut November. I had full. No nut November? Oh my goodness. That sounds horrible. Oh, that's so funny. All right, I'm just gonna take care of the housekeeping things first. So, first thing, I'm gonna go ahead and create an event in Discord because I feel like that's probably helpful for some people. I forgot to do that last night. Let's see, what's the name of the stream today? It's this. Have you tried cold brew coffee? Yes, I've tried cold brew. I don't drink it very often though at home. No, most of the time if I drink cold brew coffee, I'm actually out, like at a coffee shop somewhere. It just takes, when you make it at home, it just takes a long time. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta let it soak for like 24 hours, and then so you gotta remember to do that the night before, or the day before, and but definitely it's good. I really actually like. Have you ever had nitro cold brew? It's like cold. It's like cold brew on tap, basically. It's pretty good. I can't wait for the game testing stream for real. For real, not gonna lie. Stream loading, bruh. That sounded like one of the most broy chat messages I've read in a while. Yeah, I don't know when we're gonna do that. That's probably. That's one of those. Steven would love to do that, but Steven needs to sit down and actually make time and prioritize it. But Steven selfishly just wants to drink coffee and write code. I know, I'm a selfish bastard. It does, right? I know you would laugh. Yeah. No Nut November sounds horrible. More endorphins, so more focus and caffeine absorption. I mean, there's how do I say this in the most PG way? There's few things I love in life, you know? And I'd rather not give up any of them. Wilo Gamer Pro. Hello, Wilo Gamer Pro. Man, we got a whole crew of people that are familiar faces. This is wonderful. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for stopping by the stream. Coffee wakes me up, but doesn't prevent me from getting good sleep. You know, that's what I thought for the longest time. And part of me still feels that way. Here's the thing, though. I also believe in science, right? So I also have to rationalize with the fact that the data is very clear that drinking caffeine does disrupt your sleep. So I want to believe it doesn't, but the science is really, really strong around this. And like I used to always think caffeine didn't affect my sleep because like I could literally be falling asleep with a cup of coffee in my hand, right? But I think the important thing to remember is it's not only that you can go to sleep, right? But it's actually getting good, deep, restful sleep that's really important. And the data is pretty clear that caffeine fucks with that. Stefan, thank you for the video recommendation. The shell is the IDE. Interesting. Good morning, Anu. How are you? Or Jay, are you flashback? I don't know which one you prefer to go by, but good to see you guys. In a few hours, we'll go to someone's house for the last week of vacation. Well, that's awesome. I'm kind of jealous. Vacation. Same as when I drink beer, I can fall asleep, but I don't rest at all. Yeah, and that's what's interesting about these chemical compounds that, and it's also what's interesting about sleep, right? It's this idea that your eyes can be closed, but you cannot be getting rest, right? That's the whole idea. There's a drug that a lot of people take to sleep. I think it's Ambien. Um, yeah, Ambien. And as I understand it, while that drug does help you close your eyes and like sleep, it doesn't actually allow you to actually get good, deep, restful sleep. Or so I've heard. I've never actually used it myself. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on the internet. Hello, Muhammad. How are you? No DevOps, background here myself, but maybe someone in the chat. Yeah, man. I mean, I would say let your questions rip, Mohammed. I'm sure somebody here has thoughts. I work with a DevOps team. I don't work on our DevOps team, but we do have a DevOps team at work. Drink a supplement, melatonin, 30 minutes before bed. I've heard about melatonin. I've never used it myself. My mom and dad used it a little bit. I remember when I was growing up. And also, I want to be clear that when I say like I know coffee disrupts my sleep. I want to just make sure everybody knows that, like, I don't always do the right thing. So there are times when I definitely drink coffee in the evenings. Um, but it's one of those things. There's a difference between like being delusional and being like, yes, coffee doesn't affect me, and then actually drinking coffee, but being aware that there's a trade-off being made. Like those are two different ways to live your life. By the way, Steven, training question: how do I get rid of elbow pain when doing tricep stuff? I already have elbow wraps. Take MSM and glucosamine? Well, first and foremost, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to try to pretend like I know what's going on with your elbow. If I was your trainer, I would tell you, hey man, why don't you go hook up with your primary care and just make sure you get some actual professional eyes on it. That'd be the first thing I would do. Just to rule out, like you just want to make sure it's nothing serious, right? Um, and then if it was me, 9 times out of 10, when my joints hurt or I have pain around a joint, it's usually related to an overuse injury, which I know is probably not anything you want to hear because that means you need to take it easy for a little bit, you know? But that's 9 times out of 10 of my experience with lifting is when something starts to become cranky, usually my volume is askew in my training program. I've kind of pushed the volume beyond what I can recover from. Yeah. That's been my experience. But that's good. I mean, it is also though a good nah, I won't take it easy. My elbow hurts. Oh, fuck it. I'm just gonna keep doing tricep extensions. I mean, the one good thing about pain is it is feedback. I mean, you can use it as feedback for your training program that okay, especially it's a really great reason why you should track your training because now if you have a training log, you can actually look back and see like how much volume have you done in the last X amount of time, right? The ligament is probably just inflamed a bit. Yeah, probably, but that's overuse, right? Like that's where inflammation comes from, right? You're basically stressing some tissue beyond its adaptive capability. Um, whether that be a ligament, whether that be muscle, whether that be bone. In the case you break a bone, it's stress that you can't recover from. What do I want to call this? I think I want to call this hosting. Or no, let's do extensions. I'm gonna have to go get another box of tissues or something. My nose is running this morning. I will be I will be RB. Excuse me. I'll be right back. I'm back. I'm back. Whoops. Dude, Copilot's eager this morning. What did I call the first one I wanted to make? Add agents. Public add agents. This dot I service collection. And we can take all of this. We can dump it into here. Like that. And then we can come over here and we can replace all this with services.add agents. So much better. Stuff in VS Code. VS Code. What is that? Is that's not a sad face, that's a what? An indifferent face? A disappointed face? It doesn't hurt when I do single arm behind the head tricep extension. Almost like a skull crusher. So it doesn't, basically what you're saying is it doesn't hurt when your arm is fully, when your humerus is flexed. Flexion. Right? Yeah. Extension. Yeah. So in that position, your tricep is fully stretched. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird that like this is extension. Like when your arm comes forward, that's extension. When your arm goes behind you, that's extension. Seems a little like not backwards, but this doesn't seem like you're flexing. But I guess if you're going based on the direction of the muscle, it is. But like dips on overhead bench doesn't hurt also. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's definitely one of those things that like if it was me, I'd be like, Doc, is my shoulder gonna fall off or is my arm gonna fall off? And if he's like, no, you're good, then I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna rest. And then the doctor would probably be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It sucks though when that shit happens, because you don't want to take time off from training, but oh boy. Ooh, arm wrestling. Have you seen those guys that arm wrestle? They got big old hands, big old forearms. Well, hopefully it is. Hopefully it's just a little bit of tendonitis and can manage through it. It's always tricky, you know. Add executors. This is more of what I'm doing right now is I'm more of just like organizing code. I'm not really implementing anything as so much as just cleaning up some of this. Services.executors, like that. Okay, so where we left off yesterday was Gemini's API service started to have issues. Yeah, so Gemini's API service started returning 403 responses yesterday. So what we basically settled on was we need to add some resiliency to our program, and we're going to do that in the form of a resilience handler on our HTTP client, and we are going to use this package from Microsoft called Microsoft.extensions.http.resilience. I know, it's quite a name. This package actually under the hood uses a library called Poly, which is kind of the .NET standard for doing retry on your HTTP clients. So what we need to do is we basically need to pull what do we need to do? So we basically need to pull I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. So we need a Gemini client. Okay, we need a Gemini chat client is ultimately what we need here. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to take some of this HTTP client logic, and we'd like to move this to a what do we want to do with it? We want to move it to like a strongly typed client, I think is what we want to do. So we're going to do a little bit of refactoring this morning. Tired of. Get the fuck out of here. Are you really going to come and fuck with my Friday by complaining about subscriber only mode? Cyber Allen, thanks for the subscription. I appreciate it. I think that said Allen. Maybe Alien. I don't know. I'm not going to do anything you fucking tell me to, Tired of. I swear. And if you send me another message right now talking about why subscriber only mode for chat is not good, I'm going to time you out, man. I made my feelings on this perfectly clear the other day. If you don't like it, you can just unsubscribe and stop coming back to my streams. There's 9 billion people on this planet. I'm sure you can find somebody out there whose stream is not in subscriber only mode and go talk to them. Stefan, I think you should disable sub mode. That's okay. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to have an opinion. It's better when there is 1,000 bots in chat. Yeah. I mean, bring all the bots, right? Yeah, I'm okay with everybody having an opinion. What I'm not okay is being harassed about an opinion. Like we can discuss something, which I did. I discussed it with Tired of, and I explained my reasoning, and we've had a conversation. But I'm not gonna have people keep coming back to the stream to hammer home a point or a topic. Like that's just it's annoying. and it's my stream. So I'm 32 years old. I'm not going to be told what to do by some random faceless profile on YouTube. I love Lamp. I'm pretty sure like bots can still subscribe and talk. I'm sure they can. But if I had to guess, there's probably far less of them than there are in non-subscriber chat mode. And I can speak to that just anecdotally. Anecdotally, since I flipped that switch on my streams while setting them up, there's far less riffraff in the chat. Hell, I might just even make it members only. How about that? How about I just go nuclear? Members only. Are you a bot? NG Tontai, what is your WM? I don't know what that is. What does WM stand for? Stefan, max tier members only. Yeah, I mean, I just kick it into members mode and just do away with all this talk of subscriber only mode. We'll fix this real quick. How's that for dad energy? You guys want to play? Let's fucking play. Only then you can chat. Yeah, I was actually really surprised to find out that a lot of the guys that I watch stream, they put their VODs behind members only. Like you can't watch like for example Primogen, you can't watch his VODs unless you're a member. A window manager like Linux? Oh, I don't use Linux. Or at least not like I don't use a desktop environment for Linux. I do use Linux on I have like four servers that all use Ubuntu. But just the server version of it, I don't actually use a like a desktop environment where I would need a window manager. On Windows, I just use this there's a set of utilities, I guess you'd call it now. There's this, what is it? It's called Power Toys. Which I'm hoping at some point this comes into Windows itself instead of being a separate app. But it's called Power Toys, and it has a utility. What is it called? I think it's called Fancy Zones. I don't know why it's called Fancy Zones. Don't ask me. Yeah, right here. Which I don't know if that's really like what you would consider a window manager. It just allows you to kind of like specify layouts on your different desktops in different arrangements. In my opinion, that's a rat move, putting your videos behind a paywall. Especially because YT recommends those vids to non-members also makes it even worse. Well, I don't. I mean, hey man, this is the way I feel about it. I feel like if those guys want to make content, it's their right to do whatever they want with that content. You know what I mean? If they want to put it behind a paywall, they can put it behind a paywall. I mean, they're putting in their own time, effort. They don't have to do things for free. You know? Good move for him, but a rat one. Damn, Stefan, that's hot. That's a hot take. I don't think it's a rat move. I just think I mean, I think it's his prerogative if he wants to monetize his videos after the fact, you know? Oh, Tired of still here, even though he hates subscriber only mode. Maybe tired of is a bot. Is tired of a bot? Is that what's happening? Workspace on VM, very awesome. No, workspace on WM, very awesome. Huh. You mean I guess you're trying to say that using a window manager is cool or good? Is what you're trying to tell me? I think that's what you're trying to tell me. Yeah, imagine. Yeah. He's in here just trying to spin me up for rage bait. All right, I'm not sure what the best way to go about doing this part of the refactor is, honestly. Thank God there are poor people like me so that poor people have something to watch as well. I mean, free content on YouTube is nice, but like that's where it's like I appreciate people who make content and share it, for nothing. Uh, but I also like don't necessarily expect people to do that, right? That's the problem. When it becomes an expectation, when you feel like you're entitled to other people's work for nothing, that's when it's a problem. If you're appreciative of it and you thank them for it and you recognize that it's a gift, that's a positive thing. But the minute it crosses into like, how dare you? How dare you make content and not share it with me for nothing? It's the same open source mentality, right? How dare you spend all that time and effort and use your knowledge to make a kick-ass piece of software, and how dare you not give it to me for nothing? Tired of. Let me see the project folder structure. Okay. We could do that. Well, I guess we could do that a couple different ways. We could do it here in the file structure. Um, Hold on, wait. Why are you asking me to do this, first of all? Second of all, this is on GitHub, so you can just clone it and look at it. Why am I... Here. Yeah, I mean, go to GitHub or clone the repo. Look at folder structure. You asked for refactoring? Oh, no, I said I'm not sure how to do a particular part of the refactor. So tired of, do you write C Sharp? Because if you write C Sharp, you might be able to help me. Or if you're familiar with .NET. If you are, then I will take the time to explain it. But if you're not, then I kind of feel like it's not worth it to explain it. But I guess I'll explain it. So the issue is that in order to use the built-in add resilience extension method, this thing, which is what I want to use, add resilience. No, it's add standard resilience handler. In order to use this extension method, we have to either use a named HTTP client or we have to use a typed HTTP client. However, it's kind of weird to do that because, why is it weird to do that? It's weird to do that because the Gemini chat client and the Gemini client are types that are coming from another library. So I would technically, what I'd have to do is I'd have to almost wrap all of these libraries. not wrap the libraries. I'd have to wrap the classes. So I'd basically have to create some like facade classes around these guys. Okay, hold on. Let's see if there's a way to do the... Let's see. Let's go into this method really quick. Let's just see what this does. So maybe we can recreate this, what this does. So this does builder, services, add options. Okay, so it adds some options. New HTTP standard resilience pipeline builder is what it returns. Where does the builder come from? So how do I get an HTTP client builder? Can I just new one of those up? Like, can I just do var builder equals new HTTP client builder? No, this is not a thing, I don't think. Well, I guess the easiest thing to do would be to add like just add a named client like Gemini client. And then just resolve that. That's probably the easiest thing to do. And then this timeout doesn't matter anymore actually because this resilience handler overrides the timeout. So we need to pass the timeout from the resilience handler, I think now. So we need to go add HTTP client, add resilience handler. And then I think we can actually pass options in here. Yeah, and this is where we can say o.total request timeout, and then we can just say time span from minutes. And I think I had this set to 2, didn't I? Gets or sets the timeout strategy options for the total timeout applied on. Okay, so that's not the right thing. I think we want a temp timeout, don't we? So for each attempt, I mean, we're talking to an LLM, right? So for each attempt, we want to take more time. We want to give it more time. I don't feel like I'm entitled to this content. I feel they're just obligated to provide me free content. I mean, I don't tell lies, but sometimes I don't tell the whole truth. Tired of. You need a generic interface to wrap those. Yeah, that's what I would need to do. If I didn't use a named client, I'd have to wrap the Gemini client and wrap the Gemini chat client, so then I could have a strongly typed HTTP client. But I don't want to introduce like 2 additional wrapper classes just so I can add a resilience handler. So I'm just gonna use a named client and call it a day. You see how good of a person Tired of is? He's helping you even after you crashed out on him. Hey man, I've never said I'm not a grumpy dad. I have my grumpy dad moments, man. Especially when people come into the chat or on the internet, especially when strangers try to tell me what to do. Oh man, I don't even let my own mother tell me what to do. I do let my wife tell me what to do. I'm not gonna lie about that. Yeah, I think 2 minutes is fine. I mean, honestly, we could probably make this configurable. But I think that's fine for now. We can also, the other thing we can do is we can also add options class here. Excuse me, not an options class. Oh no. YouTube says it's not receiving my stream. Oh goodness, what is happening? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, huh? Everything looks good. What a weird error. If I had monetization, I would make my membership very cheap and add a fuck ton of perks in level 1. Laugh my ass. Yeah, I mean, my membership is 99 cents. I just felt like if I have access to the members feature, I should use it. So so I did set up like the lowest level because I don't really know what else I would offer beyond that. Like beyond just like, hey, if you want to support my channel for $1, I would appreciate it. Mic latency? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It seems fine now. But if the quality is really bad for you guys, just let me know. I'll try to work. I don't really know what I could do differently though. I have decent internet. But who knows? Somebody asked me the other day too, and I didn't get a chance to answer it. Someone asked me, they were like, so why did you hard code the URL for the Google APIs here? And my thinking is basically that while I could make this configurable, it's unlikely that this domain is going to change anytime soon. So I'm just not concerned with it. But I could most definitely read this in from options if I needed to. I don't like the way that looks. Okay, so I think that's all the things I wanted to refactor in this place. Actually, I'm gonna pull this. I'm gonna pull this stuff into a method, into an extension method. Extension methods are nice because they just help your code look a little bit more organized, a little bit more readable. Let's see, add chat client. We'll come over here, pull this out, come back over here, paste this guy in there. Also, Mike, good to see you. I don't know if I've seen you in my chat before, but good to see you. Okay, now we can come back over here. We can say services dot add chat client. And then we'll do one more extension method. We'll call this public static iService collection, and we'll call this add Gemini client is what we'll call this. Although I know that's a little misleading because we do have a type in our, we are using a type called Gemini client, but that's really not what's being added. Which actually we could probably fix that. We could probably make this less misleading by just doing this. We'll just move stuff around. It's just words on a screen. So let's take all this. Let's put that over here. Then let's take this stuff here. And what do I want to do? Let's take this stuff here. Let's remove it. We'll say services.add singleton. We are adding a Gemini client like this. And then we'll say static. Whoops. Service provider. This is going to be a delegate. I'll just put all that there. We will return this guy. Return services like that. So now this method actually is a little less misleading because we are actually adding the Gemini client. And then up here we can just say var Gemini client equals service provider get required service Gemini client like this. And there we go. And then we can say services.add Gemini client. There we go. Clean that up. Now we need to clean up this stuff too, because we really, excuse me, we really shouldn't have to wire all this stuff together at the entry point of our application. And I need to be able to test this, right? So ideally, we should be able to test that the path of our workflow actually handles things correctly without actually making calls to LLMs or anything. We should just be able to verify that, like, if this object is passed, then this method is called on this executor. So we really need to pull this into some sort of maybe like a workflow factory class or something like that. That's what I'm thinking right now, is like a workflow, because we're already using a workflow builder. Yeah, maybe a workflow factory. Let's see if they have any examples of that in their repo. Like, what does this look like when you put this into an actual application? Let's see. We are using a library called Agent Framework, for those of you who are new here. Mike, I have been tired and busy. No worries, dude. I'm glad you're here now. Good to have you here. Let's see, Evan. Hello, I've been studying AI for about 3 weeks. My goal is to use AI to help businesses in my niche automate their tasks and save time. Is there any resources you would recommend me studies? Thank you. So, Evan, nice to meet you. Glad you're here. The first question I would ask, Evan, is do you already know how to write code, or are you already kind of a programmer / developer? Is that a skill set that you already have? That'd be the first question I ask. And that would be the first question I would ask, not because I think you need to be a programmer or developer. I just think the answer to that question is gonna decide what you do next, in my opinion. Or what I think you should do next based on that goal. Let's see, samples. They gotta have like an actual app, don't they? There's an agent web chat. So if you ever need to build a chat app in .NET, here's one you can just take off the shelf. I do not know code, but I'm willing to learn. So Evan, I wouldn't even, if your goal is just to help people use AI to automate their business, if it was me, I would look at tools like Zapier, or what's the other one that people have been talking a lot about? NAN. I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard about NAN after 3 weeks of kind of studying AI. You might look at NAN. So like, if you understand prompt engineering and you understand how to work with the provider APIs, I would probably go the no code, low code route if you don't already know how to code. Because NAN or Zapier, a lot of these tools that allow you to automate workflows, one, you're not going to have to spend a bunch of time learning how to code, right? You can almost, if you can learn to use those tools, and you know how to use the LLM providers APIs, you can almost automatically, like, you can almost today start to help people automate workflows, right? All of these tools, Zapier, NAN. There's another one called if this, yeah, IFTTT. This is an older product, but it's still pretty popular for automation things. But almost all these tools will let you make requests out to the provider of your choice, but then they're also going to give you the ability to connect to a bunch of different other systems, right? Connect to Google Drive, connect to OneDrive, all the things that small businesses use, right? The disparate systems that they use. And so I think you'll be able to get your business up and running and working with other small businesses much quicker going the no code route than trying to spend time actually learning how to code and then go and help businesses. Because what you'll inevitably find out is when you start trying to help small businesses is if you're implementing all this stuff yourself in your own code, you're going to have to figure out how to deploy the code, how to host the code, how to maintain it, how to update it, how to deploy new versions of it. All of which add complexity and slow you down from going from where you are today to what your ultimate goal is. Which your ultimate goal, from what it sounds like, is you want to sell people services to help them implement AI in their business, right? You to me it sounds like your goal is less about learning to code and more about building a business. That'd be my advice. So I think, is there any resources you would recommend me study? So I would recommend you study NAN. Go watch a bunch of YouTube tutorials on NAN. Get yourself a instance of NAN, whether it be on their cloud or self-hosted, and then just go to town trying to automate different processes. And likely what you'll be able to do is you'll probably be able to find like a pattern. You know, Evan, you'll probably be able to see like, oh, the businesses in my niche use these softwares to do these tasks, and you'll probably be able to establish almost like a templated, uh, templated workflow that you can just like go into business after business and be like, okay, all we're going to do is we're just going to tweak the authorization credentials of these steps, and we're going to tweak the inputs maybe a little bit here or there, but for the most part, it should be kind of like a rinse and repeat, I would imagine. Give him resources instead. Yeah, I mean, those are the resources. I mean, if it was me and that was my goal, if you don't know how to use the LLMs, like if you don't know how to actually like call an LLM or send a request to an LLM, then I think some of the best documentation out there lives on Anthropic's docs. So if you haven't perused these docs, particularly, where is it? Particularly these two sections have some really, really good learning to them. The prompt engineering. And then my favorite is they have like 4 or 5 articles in their help about tests and evaluation, which are very good. I can't remember if it's in this document. Is it in this document? They talk about I don't think it's developed test. Is it this? No. I thought they had an article on here where they walk through like different ways to do evals. Maybe I'm just overlooking it. But yeah, I think their docs are very clear. They have really great helpful examples. Maybe it is the develop test cases. Yeah, it's these example evals. That's what I was looking for. So they kind of give you like different ways that you can approach measuring and evaluating LLM prompts and responses, which are all very interesting. That's probably where I'd start, Evan. It's a deep topic, man. I think though for most small businesses, they don't know like what they're doing, so you'll probably be an expert from day one, even if you spent like 15 minutes. You know. But I wish you all the best, man. I hope you land a couple clients. Okay, let's add a new folder. Workflow. Well, actually, I don't think it's so much that I want. I'm trying to think of how I want to go about testing this. So I know for certain I'm gonna need some sort of workflow factory.cs. I mean, basically, this is just going to have one method, public. Evan, thank you so much, Stephen. That helps tremendously. Was a bit lost until hearing that. Yeah, I just think like if you told me and that is all in the context that it sounds to me like you want to build a business, right? So like spending a lot of time getting mired in the technical details is not going to help you do that, right? You need to figure out how you can deliver a service and then start selling that service. And so to me, figure out how to talk to an LLM, whether that be Anthropic, Gemini, whoever, figure out how to make API requests to them. Go get a no-code, low-code tool that will help you orchestrate those requests and also talk to other systems so that you can, because AI is not valuable in and of itself. You know, like a business is not going to be able to find value in you just sending prompts to an LLM. That LLM is going to need to orchestrate sending emails or drafting emails or moving files, or it's going to need to facilitate some automation, right, to save them time or for them to see value in it. So yeah, I think that's the best the most efficient way from going to I don't know how to use AI to I sort of know how to use AI, but I definitely also know how to sell a service where I help businesses leverage AI for efficiencies. And then I would just be upfront with your first few clients, you know, be upfront with them, be like, hey, you're the first few clients I've done this for. And maybe even do some of it on spec, right? Because you probably want to build a portfolio. So like offer to help a couple businesses for free, but in exchange, they need to provide like a testimonial or even like either a video or written testimonial to put on the website that sort of cosigns for you. That's what I did when I was a personal trainer and I was trying to build a clientele at the beginning. My first 4 or 5 clients, I just worked with them for free. But the thing they gave me in exchange for that was I could use their experience and results as part of kind of my marketing efforts. And then Tired Of comes in here. You should learn to code first. Yeah, I think Tired Of's full of shit. You do not need to spend 9 months learning to code or 3 months learning to code before you can go sell somebody a service. That sounds like a programmer who's never had a business in their life before telling somebody who wants to build a business how to do it. Like if you go that route, Evan, it'll be 6 months to a year before you ever do anything with this goal of yours, and by that time you may have given up on it. And they're not necessarily mutually exclusive either. If you start trying to build a business now, you can always continue to learn in your free time. You know? So if you wait to be an expert to do something, you're probably never going to do it. What does this return? Steven, why are you crashing out on Tired nonstop? I agree. If he wants to be good with AI, he should at least know Python or something. That's crazy because I was a personal trainer as well. Definitely going to use the testimony. Yeah, go for it, man. I'm not crashing out on Tired of. I just disagree with him. I think I think you guys are technical people who love code and love learning how to program and implement. What Evan wants to do is Evan wants to build a business. And so I'd imagine if Evan's successful in 12 months, he should have people working for him that are way better at implementing AI than he probably ever wants to be. So there's a big difference between wanting to build a business by offering services to people to do XYZ and wanting to be the best at actually delivering those services. There's just a huge difference, right? Like, and so if I get you're grumpy maybe, but you just get more coffee or something, chill. Well, I do need more coffee, but I just disagree with Tired of. That's all. I mean, I'm not crashing out on him. I just disagree with him. He needs to know about its technical side at least a little bit. Well, yeah, I mean, he'll know how to wire API calls together and how to do a little bit of prompt engineering, but he doesn't need to know Python to do that. That's my point. You don't need to know how to like you can learn NAN and figure out how to deliver the same process, the same automated process in NAN that you could do with Python. But in NAN, you get the benefits of a GUI, right? And a bunch of helpful tutorials out there on the internet. Instead of if you go learn Python, you've got what is Python? Oh, it's a language and it's an interpreter. Okay, great. How do I get that installed on a machine? Oh, okay, great. How do I deploy that somewhere to let it run? How like you're adding a lot of layers of prerequisite knowledge and learning that are just going to get in somebody's way from what they're actually trying to accomplish. I'm not crashing out. I just will always disagree with all his takes. Well, if he if Tired of says something that I agree with, then I'll agree with him. Hey Arvin, how are you doing, Arvin? Good to see you, man. We're having a lively debate about if you want to start AI business. Yes, I'm building a business first to replace my job, then learn AI and coding in depth. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I mean, I think if your goal is income, the learning is secondary. In my opinion, I mean, again, it's like if you if you wait to do something until you're the best in the world at it, you're gonna be waiting a long time, right? Like if you wait to if you I yeah, I'm there's some truth to that. There's some truth. Like people that build businesses typically do it because they're kind of air not arrogant, but they're kind of ignorant of what it takes to build that business. Because I think in a lot of cases, if you knew everything you needed to know to do something, you'd probably never do it to begin with, right? So I think it's fine, Evan, if you start on the non-technical side of things and then slowly I mean, because what you're talking about, the business you're talking about, Evan, is no different than a personal training business, right? How do you scale a personal training business? You hire more personal trainers. How how do you how do you scale a business that delivers AI services to small businesses? You hire more people that deliver AI services. So in 12 months or 24 months, if your business is successful, I would imagine you should be doing far less of the implementation of AI, and you should just be pitching, selling, marketing, managing the business. Have any of you guys? Oh, JK, yeah, no, no worries, man. I'm totally okay with you guys calling me out. I'm just like, not. It won't hurt my feelings. How? Mike. It's called a learning experience. It is. You're right. And I think that's where I guess I'm doing a bad job of communicating that. I'm doing a bad job. I'm not saying it's one or the other, right? I'm not saying it's zero sum. I'm saying Evan can learn and grow while also building the business versus not building a business until he learns. Those are like, and I think that the latter is the wrong approach. I think the right approach is have enough knowledge under your belt and have enough tools that you can actually deliver on the thing that you want to sell people. Start selling it, start delivering it, and then through that experience, you're going to continue to learn more about the thing you want to know more about. So I did a bad job of articulating that thought, but that's the way I'm thinking about it. Because Evan might find out that small businesses don't want to pay for his service, right? And I'd much rather him find that out now than find that out in 12 months after he's sunk a bunch of effort and time into learning something. Have you guys ever heard about the what is the book called? I think it's called $1 Million Weekend. This book is really good. It's by a guy named Noah Kagan, which I just like him and I like his content. I've been following him for a long time. But if you're in the business world, like his stuff, he has a really good take on business. Like this whole idea of like validating your business idea quickly and getting real market feedback from actual consumers before you sink a bunch of time into building something or learning something or trying to build something. Most people spend 6 months or 12 months working on an idea, and then they try to launch it. It goes nowhere, or it goes to crickets, when it would have been much better for them to validate their idea sooner, not sink all that time and effort. Like, can you actually sell somebody the thing you're thinking of building? Like, validate that in the world first. Sorry, Arvin. I apologize. Hold on. Let me go back. Have any of you guys encountered Iranians? I've not met... Oh, I take that back. I worked with an Iranian when I was a medical scribe. There was a gentleman who worked in our radiology department who was Iranian. But I have not spent much time working with or speaking with or hanging out with Iranians. But it's kind of an oddly specific question, though. There's a lot of nationalities that I haven't spent a lot of time interacting with. I mean, obviously, I'm an American living in Kansas. Well, it's not the most culturally diverse place on earth. Mr. B. Adrix, hello, good to see you. Man, your profile picture is a little scary, man. Is that Jason? Who is that? All these Halloween profile pictures. Oh, that's not really it. That's more like a Jabberwocky mask. But it is kind of creepy, man. I'm not gonna lie. Evan, you did great, bro. I understand. Okay, good deal. And I think it's cool that there's a fellow former or soon to be maybe former personal trainer around here, so that's cool. That profession is a grind. I did that for 7 years. 4 years, 5 years for working other people's gyms, and 2 years on my own. That it is a grind. Faux show. Bruh, it's pronounced Iranian, not Iranian. Well, thank you very much, Arvin. I apologize. As an American with a dumb tongue that can't pronounce many other things, I apologize. I appreciate you correcting me. I mean, this class is basically going to be a wrapper. It's basically going to just do one thing. Public static, we're going to return something here. Task of, I don't know what. Create async. So I need value task workflow question. Value task workflow question. And then of course I need to inject all of these dependencies. So we're gonna have a private read-only user, I guess, but it's not a user. It's actually it's a request port. Huh. So how do they do this in an actual application? I wish they had a good example of what Hey Stux, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Mike, I don't know what your ellipses are referring to, but it's very ominous. Good to see you, Stux. It's been a minute, man. It's been a hot minute. Yeah, this sample doesn't look like it shows much about workflow. This is an A to A. Arvin, if an Iranian approach you with this attitude, never back down. Say, I take at least 4 times minimum wage, don't like it, say goodbye, and they'll keep their heads low. I read that message, but I'm not sure I understand it. Arvin, yeah, and I'm not sure. I wasn't lucky in my respawn point. So Arvin, are you based in Iran, Arvin? And if you've already told me that before, I apologize. It's second part. You missed the first one. Sorry. Oh, the first one didn't come through then. Because I read all of your comments. Either that or I'm just too dumb to put the context all together. Stux, what you working on? So Stux, you haven't been here actually since we started working on this, I think. I don't think you've been here. Microsoft released this new AI framework. So it's basically, think of like what a web framework is. This is a similar framework for applications who want to implement or use AI to implement features in an application, right? So if you want to, build a chat app, or if you want to do something more complex, like have some type of agentic workflow, this library or this framework provides a lot of helpful abstractions and boilerplate implementations of a lot of things that you would have to implement yourself. And it's also kind of it's a merging of two existing libraries that Microsoft has been maintaining, Semantic Kernel and Autogen. They sort of took the learnings from both of those libraries and combined them into this one. And they released this 2 weeks ago now. And it kind of piqued my interest because if you're in the .NET world, you know we don't have a lot of options when it comes to building AI stuff. We don't have a lang chain, right? And so I wanted to learn how to use this framework. So we came up with a project, or I came up with a project idea of building an application that would sort of act like my own little ghostwriter. So in essence, what it does is it takes in a user prompt, and then at the end of all of the code or LLM calls, we should end up with hopefully a blog post, like a rough draft blog post that hopefully sounds like me, that I can edit and review and then ultimately hopefully post. So it's just another tool to help make content creation a little easier. And then also learn this library. So that's what we're working on. Abhi, you on Twitch? I'm not on Twitch. I'm kind of debating for Advent of Code if I'm going to stream to Twitch or not. Last year, that's how I actually got started streaming, was I started streaming Advent of Code on Twitch. But Twitch, I stopped mainly because it was just so quiet over there. You know, there wasn't any viewership, there wasn't any chat. You know, it was kind of like a ghost town. Which I'm not saying like I deserve differently. It's just when I started streaming on YouTube, I actually started getting interactions from people. It seemed like YouTube was helping get my stream in front of people that might be interested in it more than Twitch was. Yes, I live in the same cell with the rest of the Iranians. Eesh, I'm sorry about that, man. I was saying Iranians are dense bunch. They want 2 years of unpaid internship, 30 years of minimum wage for senior levels. Well, that's tough. That is tough, man. I'm not sure what you do in that kind of an environment. To get a job, you got to have 2 years of unpaid internship and 30 years minimum for a senior level. That's pretty wild. But what do, right? Like, if you really want to be that thing, then I guess your only option is to just deal with it, to deal with the reality that you're in, not the one you wish it was, which is shitty, right? But there's not really a good alternative. Okay. So we want interviewer. I forgot how to do replace all. It's percent S. Oh shit. Percent. Replace all in NeoVim. Colon. That's what I was forgetting. Colon. Percent S. Interviewer. And I want to replace that with underscore interviewer. Oh, whoops. Whoopsies. That wasn't as elegant as I hoped it would be. Why is this complaining? Non-nullable field. Oh yeah, that's fine. I can fix that. And then I need a researcher. So I basically am just injecting all of my executors into this factory, and then I'm just gonna use them to create my workflow. So researcher underscore researcher. Hey, what's up, Joe Does AI? How are you? What part are we working on today? Well, so far we've done a lot of refactoring, just moving stuff around, cleaning some things up. And then right now what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a class that lets me create instances of my workflow so that I can test the workflow. So basically what I'll do is I'll mock up the different agents or executors in my workflow, and then I just want to make sure that data flows through my workflow in the way I would expect it to, right? So does the interview pass to the user when it's supposed to? Does the interview hand off to the researcher when it's supposed to? So we're putting the workflow into a factory class that we can use in our tests to test all this. Which I know is not the fun part. Writing tests is never the fun part. But it is an important part, you know? Or at least I think it's important. I'm sure somebody's out there like, well, Peter Levels doesn't write tests. And you know what? That's valid. Peter Levels is also much wealthier than I am, so maybe you should listen to him and not me. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Private, read-only, editor. I also, full disclosure, I don't know if this is the right pattern for doing this with the agent framework. I looked through their sample code and I didn't find any samples of how people were doing this. So I'm just I'm approaching it as I would if it was anything else I was doing. It's totally possible that I tear all this out and I do it differently. Like maybe I'll see somebody else's implementation and figure out how to do it right, but this is how I'm going to do it to start with. Okay, so now we can just replace all these references with the editor. Excuse me. Also, we have about T-minus 1 minute till I go get more coffee. Why is this complaining? An object reference is required for non-static field. Oh, yeah, this shouldn't be static. And we're going to inject these in. So we'll say public workflow factory. And I'm actually going to turn Copilot on for this one. Copilot will be able to do this very quickly. There we go. Looks good. Okay, the user. So the user is interesting. So the user actually comes from what they refer to a port. And I'm thinking, I don't think this should be part of the dependency injection. I think this should just be, I guess, newed up. I guess that's the question. Like, I don't know. An external request port for a workflow with the specified request and response types. So how do I use, I guess the question is, how would I use the port, right? How would I use this port? So it looks like right now all I do is I take the user and I pass it into the workflow. That's all I do. So I guess the question is it safe to new this up inside here, or should I pass it in? Since I don't know, I'm just gonna do it one way and then I'll figure it out. So I don't know, honestly, the way this should be done. So I'm gonna say this is okay to do. And if not sure if this is correct. Should it be resolved through DI? Should caller pass it? I don't really know. Okay, so we've got that now, and so we can use that, I think, right? Yeah, we can use that. So we can come over here and we can say, well, actually, let's create an interface for this. Also, I feel like my 1 minute is up already, isn't it? I think public is the default for interfaces. Come over here to program, and we'll say services.add singleton, and we'll say factory. This. Now what we should be able to do is we should be able to get rid of all of this. Get rid of all of this. Well, actually, hold on. We can get rid of all of this. And then what we can do is we can say factory equals workflow factory. And we can say var workflow equals await dot create async. And it should all still work the way it was working. Arvin, bro, locked in right now. Yeah, I was locked in a little bit, huh? Yeah. You know, it isn't 30 years of experience for a senior level role. It is senior level knowledge for a junior level role that they feel entitled. 2 years of unpaid labor, then minimum wage. Yeah, that sucks, man. I just don't know. I don't know how to help. Like, I don't know how to help with those kinds of situations because you're up against something that's bigger than you, right? So what are you going to do? I mean, you can be frustrated by it, you can be upset about it, but at the end of the day, like if that's the place you live and those are the constraints that are placed on you, you sort of the only option is to just try to navigate it the best you can. I wish I had better advice other than just commiserating with you that it sucks, but that seems to be all I have to offer at the moment. Gaudy Python, hello. How are you? Also, nice username. Hi, how's it going? It's going good, yeah. It's going well. Good to see you here. I think this is the first time I've seen you in my chat, so hope you're doing well. What exactly are you implementing today? Did you finish yesterday's resilience improvement? Yeah, so we added the resilience. Full disclosure, like the resilience is like really simple to implement it when you use someone else's package. So all I did was here this is basically where I'm wiring up, and forgive me, sometimes I don't know how familiar some of you are with C# or .NET versus other languages. So most of the time in C#, the best practice for handling HTTP clients is you kind of delegate the instantiation of HTTP clients to something called an HTTP client factory, which is something that Microsoft has implemented and provided. And the reason why it's sort of best practice to do that is because behind the scenes, they have taken care of basically managing a pool of another class that underlies the HTTP client called the HTTP client message handler, I think is what it's called. And they basically do a good job of caching and pooling and reusing those handlers so that they're properly they have a proper lifetime and that they're properly disposed and instantiated correctly, so you don't deal with things like stale DNS and you don't exhaust all the sockets on your machine. They basically they've abstracted a lot of that away from you, so you don't have to worry about managing all of that complexity in your application code. And so in order to use that HTTP client factory, there's an extension method that you called add HTTP client. And so that introduces that factory into your DI container. And then off of that call, you can call add standard resilience handler, which basically pre-configures a retry strategy. And you can override it and you can customize it further, but the default works just fine for me. I think, if I recall right, I'm pretty sure this implements a exponential backoff is the default to deal with transient errors. So the idea is then whenever I make an HTTP call and it encounters a transient error, this handler will take care of taking that request and retrying it for me automatically instead of me having to worry about that. So I did implement it to answer your question. It's just all I did was change some method calls together. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, which is oftentimes the better path to choose in a lot of cases. Let me see if I can actually find the add. I'm sure they have some documentation on what this actually does under the hood. I'm almost 100% certain it wires up. There we go. So automatically retries requests due to transient errors. So this would include server errors or specific HTTP status codes. And you can configure this. You can configure status codes. And then you can also customize different things, right? You can customize the delay. You can customize the total request timeout, which is probably something I should do. Let's see. Details needed on defaults. Here's a good example. So yeah, so the backoff type is exponential. That means that after every attempt, it will wait longer. It will retry after the header. So if you do get header responses back, like most of the time it's good practice if your API returns a 429 and you're rate limited, you should get headers back that tell you like how long you're rate limited to and how much longer you need to wait before you can try again. And then the use jitter, that's important if you have like multiple clients of the same thing running, right? So that you don't have a bunch of clients attempting to reconnect or retry their request all at the same time. So you use a jitter to offset the timing of the retry by a little bit. Which is all stuff you could implement yourself. It's just why do that if you can use well-tested, right, battle-tested implementations. So by default, the options are configured to handle only transient failures. So this includes HTTP status codes 408, 429, and 500 or above. So this would be, your 500s, your 503s, your 502s. I don't remember what 408 is. 429 is too many requests. That's typically what you return from an API when you need to rate limit a client. I don't remember what status code 408 is. Request timeout. The 408 request timeout client error response status code indicates that the server would like to shut down this unused connection. So I guess it retries those. So yeah, that's been implemented, and now we're just kind of we've been refactoring some stuff, and we've been preparing to kind of get our ducks in a row so we can actually do some testing on our workflow, which should be fun. I think tests are fun. Excuse me. I'm trying to absorb as much possible to become a better programmer. Hey man, I'm right there with you. Me and you, we're on the same path. Whenever I get a chance to talk with our developers at work, I bet they feel like they're being interviewed for a job because I'm always peppering them with questions. Because I think it's not that I think I'm dumb or that I don't know things. Because I know that I do know some stuff. I do have some knowledge. I think actually what I find more valuable is when I talk to other people who are programmers or developers, I get to experience the way they think through problems and the way they think about solving the problems. And I think it helps me be exposed to those patterns, those thought patterns. You know, I think that's a huge reason why I like to watch the Primeagen's stream. I know his stream is very entertaining, but I also like to watch him the way he works, right? There's another guy on Twitch. What is his name? Sorry, hold on. I gotta figure out his name. I'm subscribed to him, but I can't remember. Usually when he goes live, I'll usually tune into his stream. Oh no, I'm not logged into Twitch. I gotta get logged into Twitch. But yeah, I think that's a huge value of programming alongside others or following along, is you get better just by listening to them and how they think about things. It's the classic like talking shop, right? It's like every profession has some form of that, where, you know, if you're a plumber, a carpenter, a lawyer, a doctor, a surgeon, right? It's like being in a room or getting exposure to other people who do the same work that you do, but hearing them think about how they approach their work, what are their different techniques and strategies. You can always take away things from other people. So I totally understand. And I'm always happy to answer any questions you have. Sometimes the answer is going to be, I don't know. I made it up. But sometimes I might have a well thought out thought process on something. Sorry, I wanted to share this guy's Twitch because I think some of you guys might enjoy his. Let's see. I still have yet to get more coffee, and it's already 6. Is there a way on Twitch where you can see who you sub to? How do you do that? Oh, following. I guess that might be the... not him, not him. Oh, this guy's good. Adam C. Giannis. Do you guys know who that is? He's been on Prime's Prime sub. I think he's in... Sorry about the noise. He's in the UK. He's a game developer. He's fun to watch. But there was another guy. He usually doesn't have very many people watching his streams either. But he's a very good developer, it seems like, or at least from what I see. This guy, there it is. Tom underscore BH. He goes live almost, it seems like almost every day he's live. working on something. And I've really enjoyed following his stream. Tom ___ BH. Tyler, since ChatGPT came out, I lost interest in coding. Back then, I had to code by hand, but I had control over my code, which felt satisfying. Now I have to use AI, otherwise I'll fall behind. Yeah, I've just completely rejected that, Tyler. I've just completely rejected that. I don't know. I mean, I understand what I don't not rejecting the premise you laid out. I guess I'm rejecting having to use AI, right? Like I understand the feeling of needing to use AI because you feel like you're not going to be as productive or successful as other people who are. But I've personally just taken the tack that I'm going to use AI when I want to, and I'm not going to use it when I don't want to. Because for you, or for me, just like you, I get a lot of enjoyment from writing the code, thinking through the problem, um, the process. Like I get a lot of enjoyment from the process. I think people who are using AI to code, like vibe code, there's a lot of those people who I don't think enjoy the process. All they care about is getting to the end destination, which is I have a working thing. And that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. You can use AI to accelerate you down the road. But for me, I still like chiseling out the code by hand. I still find that very enjoyable. So I hope you don't give up your interest in coding altogether. You don't have to use AI. Come to us, no AI coders. Yeah, I mean, we could basically, Mark, thanks for the subscription, man. I appreciate that. We could basically kind of create a little a little oasis on the internet for all of us that want to flee from the world of the vibe coders and AI hype bros. Which I don't want it to seem like I'm against that or I'm knocking that because I'm not. If that's how you want to build, that's fine, right? Like it's totally fine. I think that both can coexist. Like you can have people who are vibe coders and you can have people who aren't. And I think the problem I have is when one side wants to smother the other side or like wants to. There's definitely this feeling from the vibe coding side that's very heavily like you don't need to learn to program anymore and AI is the only way and I can run 10 different agents all at the same time and that's the stuff that I kind of like uh, throw up in my mouth a little bit a little bit at um, but like if you're chill and you're just like hey man I prefer to vibe code my shit but that's cool that you like to code if you're that type of a person, then yeah, man, I fuck with it. Like you like to create and you've chosen the tools you want to create with, go for it. Okay. Where am I? I'm here. I need to figure out what to do with all this. And I think what I'm going to do I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all in a hosted service that starts whenever. Okay, I'm gonna first. Well, I know first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get coffee. Second thing I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna put all of this stuff into a hosted service that will start whenever my host starts up, and that will be kind of the main entry point of my app. The only question that kind of lingers in my mind is how do I test the ask user functionality? That's something that I think I probably want to abstract out so that I can verify the logic in here. Hmm. This is why people don't test their code, because you have to actually think through how you're going to write the code in such a way that you can actually test it. This is why people don't do it. Once I saw a comment that someone claimed they are generating 100 lines a month, I was like, I have a dream that can be implemented in approximately 200 lines that I'm planning for tiers. I doubt they can vibe code something like that in 2 months. Yeah, there's a lot of claims being made in that space, and nobody's willing to back it up. No, like people like these Twitter, like the place I see it the worst is on Twitter. I see like these big ass Twitter threads that are people like, today you'll never believe I use Claude Code to recreate, which might be kind of douchebaggy of me because it kind of comes across like I'm kind of saying like pics or it didn't happen type of thing. But I kind of feel like I'm justified. Like if you're gonna make claims, like if you're gonna say I can bench press 315 pounds, okay, Pixar didn't happen, man. Where's the video? Show me the video. Like why do I just have to take you at your word? Like you're the one making claims. You should be the one that has to prove that. In my opinion, that's how it works in science. Like in science, you can't just claim shit and then expect other people to try to disprove you. If you make claims, you have to offer proof. Like that, the onus is always on the burden of proof is always on the person making the claims. Online, I vibe code 100 lines of production code a month. they they are definitely bots. Or 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 they are people who are trying to make a living being content creators on the internet, and right now that is the content that gets rewarded. So I can respect that. If that's your hustle and you're posting on X so that you can grow an audience and you're trying to monetize that audience and that's the business you're trying to build, okay, I can respect that. Doesn't mean I have to respect the way you do it, but if that's what you're trying to accomplish, that's that's fine. All right, guys, I'm gonna go run upstairs and get another shot of espresso, and then I'll be right back. Obviously, if you need to go, no worries. I get it, man. Y'all have lives. Probably back in like 5 minutes. I don't know. This always takes longer than I think it's going to. BRB. Also, if you have been here and you're getting ready to leave, thank you for being here. I'll be right back. I think you might be the only one left here, Arvin. Probably 60% of Twitter users are bots too. Do you really think so? Do you think it's that high? That's a lot of bots. A lot of bots. Also, what does a Twitter bot look like in implementation? Are people like automating a browser? Hey, what's up, Togo? Tego? Tego? I'm not sure what the best way to refer to you is. I'm just gonna say Tego. Just seems like a lot of. It just seems like a lot of. That's a lot of traffic that's bots. Tego or Tego? I'm gonna say Tego. Tego. Well, good to have you here, Tego. You are a very welcome chatter anytime. Okay, so I think if you ever notice, they all have a generic guy or trip art PFP, and the way they type the way they type is the most generic comment. They literally lack any personhood. I guess I'll have to pay attention to it more. I mean, I do see X accounts when I'm scrolling that sometimes I think, yeah, that looks a little suspect, but just 60%, that's a big number. You know what I mean? That's a huge number. And don't you have to pay for the blue check mark? So like, what's the economics of running a Twitter bot? Like, you're just trying to rage bait people into enough engagement and viewership that you make more in revenue than you make more in ad revenue than you spend on running the bot, I guess. You think there's actually an actual business model there? I don't know. That seems like people just lighting cash on fire for the hell of it. Can't. I mean, is there really money in that? Now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. Now I'm wondering if I should be learning how to make Twitter bots. Also, am I supposed to call it X or am I supposed to call it Twitter? Which one? I thought about same thing. Maybe they are Twitter's mock account to bump engagement. I guess. I mean, that'd be a pretty shady thing to do, but I guess it's possible. Okay, I've been staring at this piece of code for way too long. I just need to do something with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to come over here. Okay, so the way the host model works in .NET, because it helps me think. So the way that the host model works in .NET is you build your host, right? So you define all your services, you define all your app, then you have your host. Once you hit build, you now have this host that carries kind of all of your application definitions in it. The host only has a few methods on it. It has start, it has stop, and it has run. It also has a couple that's like wait for shutdown, but the three main ones are start, stop, and run. Start and stop are important life cycle hooks if like you want to do things between starting and stopping, right? So you can do something like await host.start async like this, and that's not going to block, which means you can do other work here, do other things here, and then you can say await host.stop async. Now, if you do so those are two of them. Then there's a third one that's await host.run async. Now this one blocks. This will just block until shutdown is triggered with Control C. Usually, if you're in the context of a console application, Control C, or your cancellation token is actually canceled. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do start async. I'm going to call that. And what start async does is it's basically going to go through every I-hosted service that you have registered in your application, and it's going to run it. So the entry point of my application is going to be one of those hosted services. So that's where we're going to move all of this code to. Is we're going to move that into a hosted service. So we're going to come over here, and I don't really know what the right namespace is for this. Maybe it just lives at the top level and we call it I don't know, app.cs. I don't know if that's a good name, but so then we'll say namespace is going to be casper.console, and then we'll say internal sealed class is app, and that's going to implement the I-hosted service interface. And this interface, I think, just has two methods on it, which are start and stop, right? Makes sense, because that's what the host calls. So for stop async, I don't need to do anything. All I need to do is I just need to return task.completed, because I'm not worried about it. And then in here, this is where we're going to move all the code from our program CS into that file. So we'll move all this code into the app. This is the first time I've done a CLI application like this. Usually I use Spectre Console for this type of thing, but okay, we don't have the host here, so what we actually want to do is we want to inject the factory, right? So we want to say private read only I workflow factory, like that. And then we'll just inject it. Public app I workflow factory. See, this is the part of coding that I find enjoyable. Like, I know somebody out there is like, man, you could have had AI implement this thing in 3 hours. But I actually find this fun to do this, to think through how you want your code organized, to think through how you want to approach it, how you're going to write it so that you can test it. I find all that very enjoyable. We'll forward our cancellation token through the call stack. You know, if you're a TypeScript developer and you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck is a cancellation token? You probably don't use abort signals, abort controllers in your TypeScript code very often, because that's basically what in .NET a cancellation token is, just a way to have the ability to cancel some sort of asynchronous work programmatically, the same way you would with a abort controller in JavaScript. Although a lot of people do not. I know a lot of people do not actually use abort controllers. We have to prefix all this stuff with system because I very dumbly named my namespace console. But we'll fix that too. We'll fix that too in a bit. Okay, cool. So we should be able now to delete all this, and our application should essentially run the way it's always ran. Oh, we do have to add services. .add hosted service, and we'll just call this the app. Like this. So now, whenever we call start async here, that's going to programmatically go into our app class and call the start async method there. And you can have more than one hosted service too in this hosting model that .NET provides. You can have multiple things, right? So if you want, like, if this wasn't a CLI, if this was like some worker program, right, you could have multiple things working inside that singular process. So we'll say .NET, let's give it a build, make sure it all works. And then let's run it. Let's try to run it. Let's see what happens. This is going to blow up in my face. I've been over here being like, yeah, it'll work just fine. This will all be great. I know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. I think, let's see. Total request timeout resilient strategy must have a greater timeout than the attempted resilient strategy. Total request timeout is 30 seconds, but attempt timeout is 300 seconds. Yeah. Well, that's nice that they have that validation in there. So we basically need to make our I wonder how many times it retries though. So basically, if you didn't catch what that error was about, that error is complaining because where I'm registering my HTTP client, I've set an attempt timeout of 5 minutes, which that's per try, right? Per try. It looks like the default timeout's 30 seconds. Now, but there's obviously a total amount of time that we can continue to retrying, right? So those two, my attempt time is greater than the total amount of time we want to attempt to continue retrying. So I have to fix that. I have to make these two things make sense, basically. So let's go here. There, and then we need to come here, and we need to say O.total request time. We need to set this. Like that. So ideally, this should probably be, the total request time should just be how many ever our max retries are, but I don't know what the max retry is for the default. HTTP standard resilience handler. See if I can, let me see if I can find that class. Standard resilience option. There's the dead internet theory. Also, there's a business. Typically, it's affiliate marketing where they try to link some product or service as well. I have done some courses that essentially did that, and I stopped because I feel it's morally wrong. Also, can you show your project structure? That's something that always trips me up. Choosing directory name, namespace, and organization. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so first off, that's crazy that affiliate marketing can sometimes leverage bot accounts on social platforms to drive. That does seem pretty shady. But hey, I don't want to judge people too harshly. Everyone everyone's got a life to live. What was I saying? What was the other thing you said? Oh, structure. So I guess we can look at structure. It might be helpful to do it in the terminal. We can use there's a command in PowerShell that lets you view your folder structure. Let's see, gh copilot suggest PowerShell visualize directory as tree. Okay, that's fine. But I want to control the level, specify level of recursion. No, specify depth, I think is what I want to do. Specify depth. That seems way too complicated. It seems way too complicated. We're going to ask Gemini how to do this. I mean, we could look at it in the sidebar of Visual Studio, but I think it'd be cooler to look at it in the terminal. I want to run the tree command in PowerShell for a specific directory, but I only want to look at things to a specific level of depth. I'm guessing there's some switch I can pass to get child item. Oh, this is new. Haven't seen that before in Gemini. There we go. So you can pass a depth. Okay. So ls depth of 1, and then I can pipe that to tree. I don't feel like that worked. Well, that's because tree is what I need to get help tree. I know this is a lot of work to try to answer your question, but I think it'd be helpful to be able to visualize. Let's see. Well, that's not at all what I wanted. Oh, tree doesn't. This says tree does not have that ability. You can't limit the depth. Well, that sucks. And that's ugly. Okay, we'll just do it like this. We'll dump it all out and we can walk through it. Actually, let's go down into our actual console. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do this. This is still broken. I keep forgetting to address this. This is some issue with mvim dap Python, and I think it expects there to be Lua somewhere, and there's not Lua somewhere, and it's a whole issue. Okay, so here's basically how I set this project up. So I almost always have a top level directory. That's the root of my repository. And for a .NET project, which I'm guessing to Gomali, you're asking from a .NET perspective, because this is going to be different if you're in some other language. Hold on, sorry, I'm going to try to catch up to some of these questions really quick. What are you building? We are building basically like an LLM powered Ghostwriter app. So not Ghost Writer, Ghost Writer. So this is basically a tool that I can use that will take in an input from me, and then it will make a few different calls to an LLM to eventually draft a blog post. But very clear point of distinction, this is not meant to be an AI slop generator. This is just meant to be a helpful utility for me to go from 0 to 1. So I don't have to always start with a blank page. And then also the other secondary gain of building this is I am trying to learn how to work with this new framework that Microsoft dropped a couple weeks ago called the Agent Framework. I'll probably make a video on this actually at some point. So that's what we're doing. Tech Key Store, I'm programmer, I don't like coffee. Is that normal? Well, I think it's fine not to like coffee, but you may want to find a beverage that you delivers some caffeine. Could be helpful. Creatives, thoughts on Codex? What is Codex? Oh, this is OpenAI's basically like their CLI or their coding agent, essentially. Is that what this is? Is that what you mean by Codex? I've not used it, so my thoughts are kind of a cool concept. I've never used it. I've used Copilot on GitHub. Copilot now can do agent tasks on GitHub. I've used that, which is pretty cool. I've only merged one of its PRs, though. The other 2 PRs that it drafted, I was like, I don't know about all that. But definitely very cool if you're somebody who wants to kind of delegate your work to somebody else. Okay, yeah. Okay, so get back to the project structure. So this is almost always how I set projects up these days. So I'll usually have a top level repo that'll have that's where my Git repository will live. I will almost always have an editor config file. I personally prefer editor config for controlling formatting and styling and analysis rules and everything. The reason why I like editor config is because you can take your editor config configuration across whatever editor. You can use it in NeoVim, VS Code, Writer, Visual Studio. They all understand it and have support for it. And so as somebody who's kind of a polyglot in terms of what editor they like to use, I like to use editor config for that. My solution file will almost always be in my root. And then typically I have some other boilerplate code for the repo, license, readme, all that good stuff. Then when it comes to organizing my projects, I'll typically have 2 folders. I'll have a source folder, so this is where you can think of, this is where like the production code lives. This is the code that's actually going to run when I deploy it. And then I'll typically have a folder for tests. This could have 1 project in it. It could have multiple projects in it. Usually the way I structure my .NET projects is for every production project, so if I have a class library, a console, and a web UI, for each of those projects, there will be a corresponding test project. And the reason I do source and test in different folders is because of .NET support for these files called directory.buildprops. There's also another one that's directory.packages, I think, .props, or I can't remember the exact naming for that. But basically, these files allow you to centrally manage build properties and package versions in a central place. and it also supports recursive support, right? So you can have in this case, I have a directory.build props at the top level that defines a bunch of different build properties that I want to apply to all my projects. I can just define them at the root, and this will be defined. This will cascade down to all my projects. And then I can define subsequent directory.build props in nested folders, right? So now this directory.build props will only apply to the projects in the source folder, but it will also include the props from the top level. And so it often makes sense to group your test projects into a directory and your production projects into a directory, because a lot of times you're going to want different props for your production code and different props for your test code. You're also going to want to be able to manage packages that are shared across production code and packages that are only shared across test code, right? Like for your test code, you're probably going to have some assertion library, and maybe you'll have like a something like bogus to generate fake data. So that's typically how I structure the kind of top level. And then obviously you can drill down into each project. When it comes to each individual project, like namespace and that kind of maps more to like the architecture of your project. I'm not an expert by any means on this topic, but from what I've read online and from people I follow and code I've read of other people, there's kind of two approaches to this in .NET. There's namespacing that's more based around technical concern, like this namespace is for my models, this namespace is for my views, this namespace is for my DTOs. That, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of organizing things according to what they are. That's more common, like historically in .NET code. That's very common. A newer approach, and kind of the approach I took here, is I organized based on feature or shared concern, right? So basically anything that has to do with the edit agent and the edit functionality goes in the edit namespace, right? So is it correct? Is it right? I'm sure someone would shit on it and another person would be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. So when it comes to your own projects, I would just kind of find the style that makes sense for you. When it comes to organizing your individual project, what makes the most sense? But I would highly recommend this type of structure for your top level. Like separate your test projects into a separate directory, separate your production projects into a separate directory, so that you can leverage the centralized property and package management that .NET offers. That's definitely something I would do. It does create a little bit of complexity if like you have multiple projects and you're containerizing your projects. There's a little bit of complexity that this structure adds, but nothing that you can't work around. So I hope that was somewhat helpful. Tigo, I know it's super niche, but yeah, hope that's helpful. Sam, some days you use VS Code, Visual Studio, some days you use NeoVim. Do you just go with whatever you're in the mood for? Yeah, that's 100%. I literally sit down at the computer and whatever I type into the command line, that's usually what we end up with. Some days it's NeoVim, and some days I work across both. Like yesterday at work, I was writing I was writing code in NeoVim, but then I was running my tests in Visual Studio. I don't know. It's fun to use different stuff. You know, it keeps it fresh. Only Emacs is missing from Steven's toolbox. I haven't. I guess I chose a side in that war, huh? I chose the Vim side. And a split keyboard. Yeah, I haven't. One of my YouTube members and frequent chatters, Stefan, he swears by split keyboards, and I've yet to embrace them. However, I at this point have had like or I've heard 10 or 12 developers, much, much more experienced developers, like, 20-year down the road developers, who have told me that they had to switch to split ergonomic keyboards, like, because of their hands and their fingers. Like, they didn't think they'd be able to keep working if they hadn't made the change. So maybe necessity will push me over the edge. Arvin, and a yoga ball. Well, then you guys should just call me Prime Junior, huh? I do need a better chair. I talked about that yesterday, didn't I? Or the day before. I want to get a better chair. Very helpful, thanks. Oh, of course, man. I'm always happy to. I never want you to think that like I'm the be all know all of all this stuff, because I'm definitely not. I'm like you guys. I'm learning and I'm trying to take all the information I can from everybody and trying to just continue to improve every day. But I'm always happy to share kind of where I'm at with something and how I think about things currently. Obviously, I reserve the right for that to for that to change, but I'm always happy to kind of be an open book on that stuff. And I think that's kind of a good hallmark. I think it's expected that you're going to change. You're going to have different thoughts about things today than you did yesterday, right? Sam encourages you to stop hunching when typing too, I think. I've noticed that I don't curl my back leaning over keyboard anymore because of the body position. Oh. Yeah, because I do, like, you guys can't really see, but like I do kind of have the tendency to do this when I'm typing, for sure. And I can feel it like I can feel it in the middle of my upper back. So what you're saying is if I get a split, I can almost sit closer to the desk because my hands don't have to be like this. I can sort of separate them. Sam might have just sold me on a split keyboard. The personal trainer in me is like, yeah, that makes sense. So you can kind of almost externally rotate your shoulders because your hands can go further out on the desk. Okay, so how much does a split key? That may have been the best sales pitch anyone's given me for a split keyboard so far. Oh, they're kind of pricey. That one's cool looking. Wow, $229. I just spent $1,500 on that NAS. So now I'm like, oh god, am I really gonna spend $100 on a keyboard? What's the brand you use, Sam? Do you have a brand that you? I know Primeagen uses that Kinesis brand. Kinesis keyboard, and I can't remember what brand Stefan told me. But I don't think Prime uses a split. He just uses this, I think, right? Or no, he does use a split. I think he uses one of these that with the concavity in it. I got a cheap one from AliExpress to try out a couple months ago. That's what I need. I need something like a $50. A glove 80? I know the end of the stream is running off the rails, but that felt so much better. This feels so much better to work from, this position. I might have to move my mic a little bit, but God, that feels so much better on my back. But like, this is not like if I was to try to type on my normal keyboard like this does not feel natural. I want to internally rotate my shoulders to reduce the tension that I feel from having to move my hand, having to do this. My shoulders want to round. I blame Sam. Everyone blames Sam for disrupting the stream. Oh, this looks nice. Yeah, those are a little pricey, but I still think it's like what the guys I work with say. They constantly, every time I ask about chairs, they're always like, look, man, you spend 40 hours a week in the chair. What's $1,000 over the course of, 5 years or whatever, right? That all that time you spend in it. Same thing with a keyboard. I've derailed the stream. That's okay though. This is totally okay. Yeah, I kind of feel like, oh, Keychron makes one, but still, I wonder if they're more. I wonder why they're so much more expensive. Like, it doesn't. Is there really that much? Is it really that much more difficult to manufacture um, the split parts? Oh, I have a keyboard from these guys. Do they make a split keyboard gasket mounted? I really like the sound of gasket mounted keyboards. Okay, I won't bore you guys with shopping for a split keyboard, but uh, I think I want to try that. I think Sam convinced me to try it. For sure. For sure, for sure. Tyrion, Tyrion. Good to see you, man. Sorry, it's not your guys' names are not hard to pronounce. It's just my tongue is so stupid. I have to practice saying things like 10 times before I. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by the stream. What was I doing? I got about 3 minutes left before I got to go get ready for work, but I think what I was doing was I was looking up what the default retry limit was for this options class. I think is what I was doing. Yeah, that's what I was doing. The total request timeout pipeline applies an overall timeout to the execution, ensuring that the request, including hedging attempts. Sam, that's too kind, man. You don't have to contribute to the split keyboard fun. I'm a big boy with a job. I should be able to invest in my tools. But I appreciate you, man. That's very nice. Very nice, Sam. Very kind. Total request timeout. The retry pipeline option. So these are the two that I'm currently overriding. But I think that these two need to be in alignment. So I think if I set 5 and 15, I think this might still error when I try to run this. Because I don't actually know how long this needs to be given how many attempts we're going to try to make. Thanks for the stream. Very entertaining, informative. Oh, man, yeah, of course. I appreciate you hanging out. Keeping me company. It's always nice to have one, it's nice to have familiar faces in the chat, and two, it's nice to just have people who ask you questions and keep you honest and engaged. Okay, sampling duration is 30 seconds. Attempt timeout is 300 seconds. The sampling duration of the circuit breaker strategy needs to be at least double of an attempt timeout strategies in order to be effective. Circuit breaker strategy. O dot circuit breaker equals new, and then what's this? I normally just use the default, so I've never actually had to do this. Sampling duration. Gets or sets the duration of the sampling over which failure ratios are assessed. So if the timeout's 5 minutes and this needs to be twice that, then this should be time span dot from minutes 10. Also, I realized that I should derive these values from one value, but to start with, I'm just trying to figure out what makes this class happy. Okay, that makes it happy. Application is shutting down. Oh, interesting. I have a big bug in my code. This while loop is not exiting. So I think I need to pass, I think I need to forward the cancellation token here, don't I? And then I think I need to say while ct.is cancellation requested is false. I think that will fix it. I'm not 100% certain though on this code that I wrote right here, so I need to come back and revisit this. I think this isn't correct. I need to do a little bit more reading to see how these three things play together in the retry pipeline to make sure that I don't have any time spans in here that are just dumb or don't make sense, given how the retry is going to behave. But let's see if the cancellation token fixed that bug. It did not. So right here we're on console.readline, and so when I push Control C, the application tries to shut down, but I have to push Control C again. Oh. Yeah. So my while loop here is blocking the application from actually starting. Okay, so we're gonna have to rethink that. This is nothing we can solve in the next 5 minutes. I'm gonna have to rethink this. Delete that, and then this note to do. Currently, the while loop in this blocks the host when running started async. Is that good? Bad? Need to figure out. All right. I don't think I committed any of this stuff yesterday, so I should probably push that up. This branch is an absolute disaster at the moment. Commit add refactor. Moved code from there to here. I know, I know. It's an awesome commit message. Let's see. Arvin's trying. Sam, just ignore Arvin. What are you laughing? I think. Oh, you're talking. Do you just name event? Yeah, because the reason I do that, I think you're talking about in here. Um, yeah, this one right here. I think you're talking about that right there. The reason I do that is because event in C# is actually a keyword, so you can't actually use it. And you can use it, you just have to prefix it with at. So you can actually in C# you can escape any keyword with the at. So you could say for each, but if you say var at for each, you can actually get around that limitation, which is fine. I mean, this is definitely one way to approach it, but I just 9 times out of 10 I just use EVT. And this is honestly, I don't want to go on a tirade, but this whole thing, this whole workflow thing, where is it? In here, I think. This whole workflow API in this agent framework, this workflow API needs to be pulled out of this framework and made as a separate package because it's actually really cool. It's sort of it's a workflow that works off like message passing, strongly typed messages pass between handlers, and the handlers can emit events that the caller can then react to while the workflow is running. It's really, really cool. I'm gonna do a video on agent framework, but I'm probably gonna spend like most of the video talking about the workflow API because I think that is honestly even more cool than all the AI stuff in the agent framework. What time is it right now? It feels night. No, this is it's 7:07 a.m. So I typically stream from 4:15 in the morning until about 7 in the morning before my kids wake up. Any deadline for this project? Yes. So we do have a deadline. We have until October 31st to finish this because on November 1st I become a Go developer. I'm planning on doing Advent of Code this year. So December 1st, the first day of Advent of Code happens. I wonder if they've actually put up the 2025. Yep, okay. So let's see. Also starting this year, there will be 12 days of puzzles each December. Oh, okay. Only 12 days of puzzles, huh? It takes a ton of free time every year to run Advent of Code. Building the puzzle accounts for the majority of that time. Oh, I guess that's okay, right? Because they're two-parters. So you could do day 1, part 1 on the first day of December, and then that's actually probably more manageable for most people. Because I kind of found when I was doing Advent of Code that a lot of the times I would get part 1 done, but I almost would run out of time that day to work on part 2, and then I'd fall behind very easily. So I think this makes sense, doing 12 days. Because then you can turn it into 24 days if you like. But yeah, that's the reason why. So October 31st, we're going to stop doing C# on stream. We're going to start doing everything in Go. I have no idea what I'm going to write in Go, but I'm going to write Go. So that for the whole month of November, I'm getting as much practice as I possibly can. And then when Advent of Code starts, I want to, that way, hopefully I'm in a decent place where I can actually solve the puzzles in that language. So we have a little bit of a deadline. But we're pretty much, we have an MVP now. So I can start using this for the most part and figuring out if it's actually going to be something I use regularly and is actually useful or not. Arvin, does C# have annotations? I don't think it has at annotations, but we do have. So I think you're talking about in Python, right? Python has Python annotation. Or I guess they're called decorators, aren't they? In Python, Python decorators, the at symbol, like this. You're talking about this, right? We don't have decorators like that. We call them in C# we call them attributes. So you can do things like you can add additional metadata or attributes to particular member types, and you can actually specify like this attribute can only go on a class, or this attribute can only go on a method, and then those attributes can basically augment the member in certain ways. Like it could be simple as like a description that this method does XYZ, and maybe you use maybe you use that description when you're producing documentation, like maybe you're trying to produce like an open API spec from your code, right? You could have attributes that just add metadata, but there's also attributes that actually do like they validate arguments to methods, or like they actually change behavior at runtime. There's also that ability. A lot of people use them for like in the web development world. A lot of people use attributes for like model binding to do validation. That's a pretty common use case. A lot of people too are using them for source generation now. So C# has a really strong source generator API now, and people are using attributes quite a bit in that world. Arvin, November, Go only. I'm into that shit. Yeah, that's November. I'm going to try to be a Go developer. I was talking about Java annotations. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Java. Interesting. Same concept, different syntax. Yes. So yes. So yeah, if that's how they work in Java, it's the same idea. Just we use attributes instead. Can attributes be programmatically leveraged like in Reflection? Yes. So C# has a very strong reflections API. A lot of people, the reflections API in C# is a little bit foreign to most people, unless you're writing a lot of like library code. Or like it's actually the reflection API is used pretty heavily in all the AI SDKs that exist out there. That's how a lot of people will they will describe their tools in C# code, and then they use reflection to produce the tool schema that they send to the LLM. So yeah, reflection is a very powerful tool. Some people shit on reflection though, because it can make your code kind of slow, right, at runtime, especially if it's in a hot path of your code, but it's definitely there. All right, guys, I'm going to go up. It's 7 o'clock, or it's actually 7:15, so I'm going to run upstairs and get ready for the day. It sounds like actually my family is all going to stay home from school today, so we're going to have ourselves a fun Friday. For all of you that are still here, I really do appreciate you guys showing up and hanging out. I know I say that, and it's not really, there's no way to say it that it doesn't come off as lip service, but I do really appreciate it. I very much remember being on stream in January of this year and nobody being here and me just sitting in a room talking to myself. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for sending me chat messages. I very much appreciate it. Arvin, I hope you have a wonderful day. I love Lamp. I hope you have a wonderful day. Evan, good luck with your business, man. Wish you all the best. Obviously, if you do have questions, more technical questions, you can always find us in Discord, Evan. So as you get going down your path, if you need some backup, you need some reinforcements, please find us. Discord.stephenfreeborn.com. You can find me there. And you can find other people in chat too there. Yeah, so Evan, have a good day. Arvin, have a good day. I love Lamp. Have a good day. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate it. You're one of the 7 souls on Earth that can claim to be a member of my YouTube channel. And anybody else who's still here, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday. If it's Saturday, have a good rest of your Friday or Saturday because time zones are weird. And I'll be here tomorrow morning. So yeah. Bye guys. Bye chat. See you guys.